What's up, Luke? Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, so first thing we're going to look at this morning is EuroCAD. This was the first idea that I found, seeing it move lower overnight. After yesterday, it was pretty choppy. If you look back, you can see it moved up in the London session, pulled back into the New York session, really not finishing the day very much higher than it started. So overnight, we're seeing it move lower. We're seeing the TDI come down, and that can induce the idea to look for shorts. The TDI moving into the sell zone feeds that idea. The EMAs feed that idea as well. You have the 800 EMA way up here. See it? So overall, in a downtrend here on the 15-minute. The reason why I didn't jump in this trade, and this is going to tie into yesterday's stream a little bit, so you'll be able to start to see how I trade. You'll see how the system works. The reason we don't want to jump in short here, and let me mark this like that. The reason we wouldn't want to jump in short there's a couple of things. First, you have to acknowledge the fact that the TDI is swapping. It's crazy because there was someone in ASFX in the group chat this morning that I was talking to, and he didn't understand how to define a swapping liquid 50. So if you're in ASFX and you've taken the courses, I would very much recommend that if you don't know what a liquid 50 is or how to identify a swapping liquid 50, I would very much recommend that you rewatch chapter 7 and chapter 8 of the beginner course. That's really where we go into reading the TDI and how that works. So knowing that this is swapping, immediately you have to give it a knock. The second thing that you have to knock against this setup is that the entry candle, which is specifically this 4:45 to 5 a.m. bar, that entry bar, we'll box that off for a second, that bar is overextended, and it's defined as overextended because it's the biggest body of the day. None of the bodies previous were as large as this one. Now, I'm not measuring the wick. Be specific so you understand, like, it's a body, it's not the wick, because sometimes you'll see some big wicks and you can get confused. It's always the body. That's the way that I measure an overextended bar. And we find that when you see these overextended breakout bars for new low of day, new high of day, often, especially with swapping liquid 50s, even with perfect liquid 50s, they often will lead to pullbacks. Now, if you remember, we talked about 2 candle formations and 3 candle formations in yesterday's video, and I've talked about them in my previous trading videos because that's an A1 entry signal. With the 2 candle, 3 candle formation, good morning, Andre, good morning, Thomas. Thanks for being here, guys. I appreciate it. With those candle formation entries, the next bar should continue to move in your favor. I'm going to show you how that looks in a second. First, you should see here, the next bar after this candle formation closes, what does it do? It doesn't move in your favor. It goes higher. It's bullish, where you'd want it to be bearish. How it should look is like this on Euro GBP. So yesterday we talked about this on the live stream. This was my second idea. It broke out with this 2 candle formation, not overextended because we have bigger bodies in the previous session yesterday. So this isn't an overextended bar. This breakout, what does the next candle do? It's bearish. Next candle, bearish. It continues to be bearish every 15-minute candle after that, at least for the first few candles. And that's normally what good A1 formations are going to do. These are breakout entries. It's not that complicated. So when you're looking at something like EuroCAD, let's say, for example, you jumped in short because you were being aggressive. You're like, yo, this is breaking out. I want to be in this. You have to be unbiased in your analysis and say, well, it is a swapping liquid 50. It is overextended. And the next bar turned against me. So instantly, you could look to get out of the trade there. If not full out, half out, right there. Let me make that white so you can see it. You could get out right there, right here, as that candle closes. You're down what? 87, 3 pips, 4 pips. It's a very small loss if you can catch yourself in that moment, or hopefully you're not in the trade at all. But either way, notice the next bar doesn't move in your favor, and where does this continue? Against you. So that's the first sign that it's not the proper breakout. Now, just going back to Euro GBP, because I don't want to glance over it, we had that move yesterday which set up that short bias, right? Let me make that white again. So you have that move that sets up the short bias. We can make that thicker. Overnight, it sits sideways. It doesn't really hold above the 50 EMA. It can't seem to get above there. In fact, if we zoom in, you can see it tries to get above, it can't. Tries to get above, it can't. Tries to get above, it can't. So we have very strong resistance here at the Asia high. As we move off that Asia high, you have 2 opportunities to look at this thing to come short in the Asian session change over into the London session last night. So this is before I was awake. If we throw the replay tool on, right here, in the next bar, it breaks out for a new low of day. So you could look to be short there. Your stop loss would be about 10 pips at the top of that entry candle. That's where you would want it to hold to see it continue to move the 8 and 21 EMAs lower. See how the 8 and 21 just crossed right in there? So you're already in the downshift. But let's say you don't take that trade because that's the first break of the Asian range. That's typically something that we see it pull back before the move lower, right? And you'll see this over and over again in the course, over and over again in my other videos, okay? So you get that Asian range breakout. It's going to normally retest before the full move down. Notice the TDI sitting in the sell zone. That's perfect. That's better than Euro CAD, right? So this is already feeding that short bias. My mom texts me. Let me turn this on Do Not Disturb. It's already feeding that short bias. And look at the liquid 50 from yesterday. It comes into the sell zone during the Asian session, holds overnight. So it's much cleaner as far as trend on the TDI, which helps that bias. Now, let me just fast forward 2 more candles. Watch what happens. It pulls back into the Asian range to retest, and it gives you another formation here as this 3 candle formation closes with a tighter stop loss. So instead of it being 10 pips, if you were taking this entry here at 345 as it comes off the 21, that entry, you're getting an 8, maybe 9 pip stop loss from there. Let's round up and give it 9. When you're measuring the risk reward here, 9 pip stop loss, you're looking to ADR, which is this green line. ADR is about 32 pips. It's almost 2R, 1.8R. It's pretty good. So now we're going to watch it. What does the next bar do? It's bearish. That's exactly what we'd want to see. Next bar, bearish, holding the 8 EMA. Candle by candle, we're just holding that 8 EMA and letting the trade tell us what to do. Instead of trying to forecast and think, oh, we need to get out now. This is exactly where it's going to turn around. There's no support there. There's nothing underneath you except ADR. Now, I'll close the replay. And you'll see it moves right to ADR, and now it's turned around. ADR is a great take profit level, a great support level that we often see pullbacks happen from. Now, of course, there's going to be days where it blows through ADR. That's normally not predictable. That's why it's called an average daily range. So using average daily range for take profit is a really, I don't want to say safe. I never like using that word when we talk about trading, but it's not a terrible idea at all. So that was the money on Euro GBP today, following that same bias from yesterday. Now, if you're watching this far into the video, we went over Euro CAD. Today, we went over Euro GBP. We're going to go over another Euro pair in a second. But if you've watched this far through, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed because I'm going to be doing these streams more often, at least 4 times a week, at different times during the New York session. Whenever I'm done my trading or I'm either in my trade and we're already rocking, that's when I'm going to start my stream to come on and go over the day, answer any questions that you guys have here in the chat because I've got it pulled up, and make sure that we're bringing you as much value as I can. Let's see. JPY doing well versus NZD CAD. What's up, Lindsay? Good to see you.